Do you ever just look up and think, birds are kinda cool? Okay, it may just be me, but I'll show you. While I go to the location I've scouted out for this project, I'll explain a few things. Firstly, yes, this is episode 1, which might be slightly confusing considering the farms and the gear, but I've been preparing this world for the last few months, so I can get straight to my main idea of this channel, birds. And if you don't like them, give me a chance because I can change your mind. Or at least one person's mind, that would be something. Or maybe someone doesn't even know what a bird is, but never mind that. Here it is where I'll be spending the distant future of my life in this silly little block game. There's some different biomes, plenty of room to build, and cascading hills, but it raises one question. What exactly am I going to do here? Bird isn't really a full plan. Not yet anyway. As before building any birds, I first need a multi-purpose structure to report my findings and study them, while also acting as a sort of home away from my base. I've already got some concept photos of bird observatories throughout the world which I found surprisingly difficult to find information and photos of. This is the main one I'll be using for the exterior. For the interior I found a few images, but I'll also try to utilize my existing knowledge and some research for what there may be inside. But it's time to act on these plans, starting with a quick iceboat highway to get to this location quickly, and then the rest of the resources I plan to use. With the chest slowly filling up, tools enchanted, farms built, and a fast way to the build location, it's time to show my thought process behind the build I'll be making. For this build I wanted to make it feel very natural, and also keeping everything very intentional. However, to start I first needed to lay out the foundation so I could get a sense of scale for the rest. Once the width and length was figured out, I then roughly planned out the height, making sure to keep everything very soft. What I mean by this is that I used a lot of glass to remove some shadows, while also making shapes smoother using blocks such as trapdoors and walls. When I'm building, I tend to jump around what I'm working on. As you can see, I started texturing and doing a bit of detailing on the pillars and granite walls, before once again shaping out the next part. At this point, the build started taking shape, and it was also when I stopped using the reference photo as I had gotten into a flow state with my own ideas on what to add. The block choice I kept very desaturated, with most blocks having some shade or hint of grey in them. The windows took a few tries since they were not only on an angle, but I had to make sure they would look good from both the inside and outside. For the sides and back, my pace slowed down a bit, spending a lot more time thinking of small details to add. So to procrastinate this, I added some extra shadows to the build. Doing this also led me to start on the back and completely texture the entire build. For the interior, I guess I'll build it in survival and show you the interior and some terraforming I did there, so I can go into some more depth and experience the build on foot. And now the build's in, I can explain the details, which almost all have a purpose. It consists of 3 main sections. The first one is a laboratory and staff area. This second area is the main study or office for the owner of the laboratory. And over here, the third is the guest building, which holds a visitor center and also some dormers for temporary staff and visitors. At ground level with the rooms, I tried keeping it pretty minimal, as the point of being here is to go outside. These are the lamps I decided on using, as I have a data pack that allows me to get blockheads. I also use these candles in most rooms to act as water bottles. The rooms are all very similar with 2 bunk beds in each, although this side does have a small window. The only difference with the 2 further down are that they're slightly bigger, but only by like 1 block or something. Going to the top, it's a bit more interesting with the main visitor center. I haven't thought of a name for the observatory yet, so I'd appreciate knowing your suggestions. But this is where some talks will occur, as well as where outings may begin. Is this sign a spoiler? Maybe. These are some pillows on the floor, which I also have leaf litter leading to, as most people will have dirty shoes and walk over to sit down first to begin. There are also some extra pillows in here. This is a small hatching area which may or may not have real eggs, as a showcase of what's going on. This is an area for a recovering bird with some water and food for it to have, as well as a weird little ladder to get to the top of the feeder. You can ignore this. I chose to go with this light design as it reminds me of most building lighting, and it's not too strong, especially from outside. There's a small spot over here for some music using the loom, as it looks like it holds records for any parrots that may happen to like music. One of my favourite details are these open windows, which I used candles to act as some pollen flowing in. I'm surprised more people don't do this, as I think it adds a lot of life, movement, and lived in atmosphere. One side of the door I kept trapdoors, so that I don't close them and you get invited into the build. I have a few of these lamps which turn on at night. I surrounded them with black glass to make them darker and not disturb the environment. There are 2 of these which I tried to make look like a spotting scope, which is similar to a telescope but for looking at birds far away. This black candle represents a tally counter, which is a device used for counting birds in large flocks when it's difficult to count in your head. You instead just press a button for every bird in the flock and it counts for you. There are also some in here. Next up is the observatory. I'll try to be a bit faster. The door is similar to the other one, with the trap doors, however I also used acacia doors to be fly screens so you can still get fresh air inside. The interior down here is pretty simple, and the rooms are very similar to the other ones, however with an added plant and some are a bit roomier. Moving upstairs, there's a lot of bookshelves, also an outside area. There's some areas for studying birds and reading, and here is a little experimentation table with these green candles I added, as they remind me of the green glass flasks used. Here are the royal eggs being incubated, and another desk with someone's family photo hung up, and a window nearby. The final section I tried making very cozy and also messy, because I found for some reason every smart person has a disorganized room. There's lots of space for books and a bunch of small trinkets around. Up here is the other spotting scope for the opposite direction. The last 2 things are this small stand which gets used for some events, and these water tanks. Like most tanks, they aren't very accurate, so there's some water building up below which flows down here that I may do something more with later. They have some simple texturing, and the watering cans are over here hanging up. Also still dripping some water, along with larger cauldrons. That's the interior build itself, but I'll go around the front to briefly go over the terraforming and some future plans maybe. Just before that, I did do some more terraforming or bushifying between clips when I was bored, so here's a very short before and after. For the area directly around the front of the observatory, I only used very green foliage such as ferns, grasses and a few berries further out. I did however put some of these sunflowers in a planter because I think the colour goes really well with the build. Moving down to this rockier area, there are a few patches of flowers. I made sure that most of the flowers I put down were also potted in the main build, which you can see up there, so that all the plants inside the observatory are native ones. It's also very dense with some leaves to create a bit of contrast, along with small sections of dry plants, which may be going out of season. Moving further back, you can see the texturing of the small cliff, which is just some simple gradients, with a dash of warped wood and mangrove. I also built up a little stone wall there to stop any soil from falling over. But I hope you're learning a bit about birds. This was obviously me just setting the foundation for my future projects, which will most likely involve building semi-realistic environments over structures like I did today. But I promise you, if you stick with this series, maybe you can think of birds as being kinda cool. But with that, thanks for staying, and I hope to see you around.